Good morning and welcome to the 6th annual CNAS conference. My name's Nate Fick. I'm the CEO of the center, and it's a real honor to have all of you with us this morning. I particularly want to welcome so many members of our boards of directors and advisors who are here and draw attention to one person in particular. Toby Simon from our advisory board arrived yesterday from Bangalore, and he's headed back tomorrow. So I think Toby wins the prize. Each of the past 5 conferences has resulted in a quote of the day, most of them embarrassing to different members of our staff. And I think we set a record this year in finding our quote of the day even before the formal kickoff of the event. As I was walking in this morning, I heard a conversation between a journalist and one of our panelists. And the journalist greeted him with a handshake and said, "I was just dreaming about you." So, if we can permeate your subconscious, then we've already accomplished more than we have any right to expect. I want to thank our many sponsors who make possible our questionable business model of not only not charging you admission, but also giving you free copies of our reports and then even feeding you. So many thanks to them, especially Palantir and Brown Advisory, our headliners for today. Thank you. The United States is at a strategic inflection point in its foreign policy and in how its role in the world is perceived by many, including Americans here at home. Just reflect on some of this moment's constituent pieces. Budgetary constraints, including a declining defense budget, the conclusion of 2 major American wars and the reintegration of the more than 2 million Americans who served in them, a revitalization of our national attention and resources toward the greater Asia-Pacific region, upheaval in the Middle East, that says, oh yeah, you may want to leave, but you can't, and a backdrop of great financial uncertainty, most acutely among some of our traditional and long-standing allies. And all of this, of course, is taking place against the backdrop of a presidential election here in the U.S. in less than 5 months. So we have our work cut out for us today, and we've tried to weave together for you an agenda that touches on each of these constituent pieces of rethinking U.S. security and navigating a world in transition. We're pleased to have with us World Bank President Bob Zoellick and Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Kirk Campbell, both dedicated public servants who excel in 2 vital areas in particular. First is working across the aisle to seek pragmatic solutions, and second, integrating all the disparate strands of thought and action necessary to deal with incredibly complex problems. We'll have panels on the defense budget, the Middle East, reintegrating veterans, and American grand strategy, plus a conversation between a prominent journalist and an experienced Special Forces officer on the way forward in Afghanistan. Allow me to take a moment, though, just to highlight a few things we're doing at CNAS that won't be readily apparent on today's agenda. First and foremost, I'm thrilled to welcome Richard Fontaine as the new president of CNAS as of just last month. He's 3rd in a succession that started with our co-founder, Michelle Flournoy, and then Dr. John Noggle. John stepped down in January to teach at the U.S. Naval Academy, although he's maintaining his senior fellow status at CNAS. And I think it's a tribute to the culture of the center that a wide public search resulted in an internal successor to John, and moreover, a successor who'd served previously as foreign policy advisor to Senator McCain in the Senate and then on his campaign in 2008. And Richard, I know I speak on behalf of our entire board when I say that I'm excited to have you as a partner, and I look forward to working with you. Dr. Andrew Exum will be leaving us, but only for a year, we hope, to pursue a Council on Foreign Relations International Affairs Fellowship in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. You may know X through his widely read blog, Abu Makwama, and we'll have a chance to hear much more from him later in the day on the Middle East panel. I'll also note that his strident and tireless advocacy led to one of the most welcome changes at CNAS over the past 5 years, the purchase of a new coffee machine. Also, Yoki Driesen, on book leave from the National Journal, will be joining us as a writer in residence in just a few weeks to begin work on his book, The Invisible Front, about the human element of sacrifice over this decade of war. And we look forward to welcoming Yoki while he does his writing. So the team's hard at work on projects extending already now through next year's annual conference. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I want to thank you all for being here for the 6th gathering, and we hope you'll find the day engaging and useful.